because it's inevitable. Oh, we're live.
We're live right now? Oh, wait.
So, look, I got to complain about StreamYard again. They added this cool thing. First of all, they made it way too expensive for this software now. But they added a cool thing that when you click go live, remember, we can have it automatically play the intro video.
Yes.
That's what I was expecting. That's why I didn't have my pants on yet, because I was expecting the video to play.
Now, warning, one of the problems with it, right? We always see that we see us for a second before the video plays.
Yes.
I don't know that. But if I'm, if I'm recording just an interview, not doing a live stream, it still will play the video. So I have to turn it off.
Ah, you got to turn it off.
Oh, right.
Or they get to watch a minute of whatever.
Yeah. So I did an interview last week. And I was like, starting the video. I was like, oh, yes, right. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Did you do the interview live though?
No, that's what I mean.
So
you
weird.
think they'd have two lanes maybe
Separate. Yeah.
because there's no. Well, I guess it's possible you'd do a video intro and then go into a recorded thing just to get it done.
Right. Well, if you don't know how to do post-production, I can see why people would want that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
There's already people watching us. We should just talk.
Hello, two eyeballs.
We are talking.
All right,
what do you think we're doing?
I mean, just do the show. Just do the show.
Oh, you mean talk like it's a show? Got it.
I mean, if I play the video now, it's I don't know, whatever.
Should I get my ukulele and play the intro?
Cat.
No.
That was a whole year ago.
I need some music. I need to hear the.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I can't. Can you?
I could play the video still. If you want me to.
I want to hear the music.
Well, they moved everything around. You just want to hear the music?
Yeah.
Not even play the video?
Whatever suits everybody. I'm fine.
Whatever
with
Kat needs
music.
to get in the zone, I'm here for her. Whatever
exactly.
you need.
Kat, this show's all about you. What do you want?
I want the video.
All right. We'll
Yeah.
see you in a minute.
Okay.
Hey.
Welcome
back. There you are. Hey, welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. My name's Will, and joining me, as always, are my co-hosts and friends, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Another year, and we're still talking about the 1980s.
Yes.
But again, if you're new to joining us, look, I think our thesis is that nostalgia alone does not account for the staying power of 1980s. Something more. And we'll talk about those things today, because on today's show, we're going to touch upon current news stories related to 1980s media and those things we love from our childhood, including, and how they continue today, including the 80s related films that ranked among the top movies released in 2024.
Ah.
Yeah. And thanks to, we'll talk about this in a moment, but it's thanks to Rick Parker, our buddy Rick Parker.
Rick Parker.
The deadly, or a deadly, I guess, because maybe there's more than one, I don't know. Whatever article you choose, A or the deadly search for Bigfoot.
Oh.
See if we could deter John at all from, or maybe something else, motivate John to prepare properly. I think
That is a lesson to be learned. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood has found its Skeletor.
Ah.
And boy, oh boy. I'm doubt about that. There's a new dark Pac-Man game that may seem familiar to you. It looks like we might be getting There's a new, there may be a Labyrinth reboot coming from the Nosferatu director. So we've been talking
Wow.
about a reboot for this film for some time, but now it looks like maybe we've got a different director at the helm.
Mhm.
And finally, we're going to talk about an 80s movie practice that, at least according to Screen Rant, is one that is still useful today. Now, even for us, I think what they're talking about may be a stretch tying these two things together. But our show is 1980s now.
Yes.
It's all about stretches here. It's whatever we can cram into the category of 1980s, we're going to do it. And by golly, if Screen Rant wants to, we're there for it.
They're helping us right along. Yeah.
And speaking of stretching, we're in our 50s, all of us. So right before we get started,
Everybody.
take off the cobwebs from 2024.
Yep. Twist.
Get ready to go.
Okay.
Hey, before we start chatting formally here, a quick announcement. Yeah, hey, look, so is it still attached to John? Is that
John still hasn't found the source of the sound.
Did you hear that ding?
No. did not.
No.
Hey, later this week, keep an ear out for my interview with author Douglas Burton. So Douglas wrote this book, The Heroine's Labyrinth, Archetypal Designs in Heroine-Led Fiction.
Nice.
So are you guys familiar with the hero's journey, the concept of the hero's journey?
I feel like
a bit from AP English, a little bit, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In brief, it was this sort of story structure that was identified by Joseph Campbell as being in real stories, fictional stories going back millennia. They have all these common elements. It really entered the zeitgeist when Star Wars in 1977 came out, because George Lucas, in some behind-the-scenes footage, some behind-the-scenes interviews, documentaries, etc., was mentioning Joseph Campbell's hero's journey as the structure of his film. And then folks started paying attention to this. But what it is, it basically just sets out how stories over and over again follow a similar pattern, have similar characters. Well, this gentleman, Douglas Burton, when writing a book of his own that was actually based on a real-life empress from the Byzantine Empire, realized, this hero's journey doesn't fit her story. And much like Joseph Campbell, by reading dozens of books and movies, watching movies, he started noticing patterns in female-led stories that was different.
Nice.
How they differ. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And it's so cool because, if you want to toss this out as, whatever, that's a bunch of nonsense. Or some guy looking to make a buck, or some guy riffing on a thing that's for men only, right? It's crazy. The examples he gives, you're like, wow, yeah.
Is it like,
so many
is it like
stories.
the WNBA? Like you have to have your own ladies basketball league because they can't be in the regular one? And that's like, which side of that do you fall on? Do you lump them all together, or do you recognize the differences between the sexes?
Right.
So, that's right.
And interesting, what Doug points out is, even though he's talking about heroes and heroines, that they're not gender exclusive. So you could have a male-led story that follows the heroine's labyrinth and vice versa, and often do. But, more often you have them follow these different journeys based on their gender.
Sure.
Anyway, it's really cool. Look, when I first learned about this book, I was interested, but it was only when I began reading, I was like, this is way cooler than I thought. And
wow.
Really akin to Joseph Campbell's analysis, and I was like, wow, it's really kind of exciting and thrilling to see something contemporary that we're still making these kind of discoveries.
It's a whole new archetype. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway,
Nice.
It was always there. You just you found the pieces, you put it together, like, oh, this forms a picture. It was always in front of me, but I didn't recognize it. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and I can go on and on with you guys, but we got our own stories to talk about. So check out our conversation with Doug later this week, where we will go on and on about all these different archetypes and talk about how they're present in 1980s films that we love and know well. So much so that when you hear us use these as examples, it starts to click. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. I get it. All right, cool. All right, so hey, that's that. All right, let's get started on. You notice we start talking about female-led stories, and a bunch of people dropped off the line.
All
right.
Come back.
Hey, you're missing out. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're just talking about the ladies today.
Right. Yeah, talking about the ladies.
Let's talk more about the ladies.
Right. Let's do that right now in 1980s news. Huh. Pressed the button and nothing happened.
Oh,
good. Blame that on
ready
streaming.
to dance. Oops. I was behind.
Let's see. No, that's not the right thing. All right. Hey, cool. Oh, yeah. So this is super cool. So first up in 1980s news, and this is reported by Rick Parker. Yeah, that Rick Parker who we thank every week. as an early adopter of our show, which means first we had a show for some time at that point. But when we launched our Patreon, Rick was the first, like one of the first few people to say, "Sign me up." And so we're forever indebted to Rick for that. But not only does he support us in that way as a listener and a patron, but he just right before we went on the air, he sent me this message here, and I think it's so cool. What Rick did is he in his email, he included a list of 8 of the top 40 films from 2024 by box office, and notes that, quote, there are at least 8 movies in the top 40 that have 80s connections.
Nice.
And
That's 20%, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, let you do that.
John approved my math. It wasn't just me.
Okay, cool.
No, when there's math in someone's head, I don't say anything because I can't do it that fast. I just go, "You're probably right." Yeah. I'm like, probably. I just gave you credit.
Man. I'm a yes man.
Yeah, and for me, I guess we've talked about these things as, in context of the movies individually, maybe a little bit broader, higher level. But I've never thought about in this context at the end of a year we can look back and say, "Wow, the 80s had this what was it 20% influence on films this past year."
Wow.
And none of them will surprise you, I don't think. But for example, number 5 was Dune Part 2, which is again another retelling of that story. Originates in a book. Beetlejuice at number 10, which we saw together.
Yes.
16 is Alien Romulus, which is in between the first and second Aliens films, which came out in the 70s and the 80s, respectively. The Garfield movie, of course, something we grew up with, the Garfield.
Yes.
Wait. That made the list of the top 40?
Yeah.
By box office.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Not by good movie listings, but by box office.
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. After they have your money, you can't get it back.
Just the dollar signs.
That would be interesting, though, wouldn't it? If you genuinely look, I'm not satisfied with this film, you can get your money back.
Oh.
Yeah. Or what if you get a rating? You're like 80%. I need 20% back.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm expecting an awesome movie. So if I go in, it's like a half good movie, half my money back. I mean, you did give me a movie. So, movie tickets $20, and I'm like, this was terrible. Give me back $18.50.
It's a whole industry revolved in just the negotiating of the return. Yeah,
Hey,
right.
this was at least worth like $4. I'll give you 16 back. You have this haggling thing before you can leave. Yeah.
I think you're right too. There's got to be a floor to it. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you got to keep $4 at least.
Yes.
Just for processing fees.
It's an after haggle for quality.
Shipping and handling.
It's hard to believe, but Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire came out this past year. The Fall Guy, of course, which I love that movie. I've seen that 5 or 6 times.
Oh, loved it too.
Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga, which was a prequel to our beloved Mad Max. Not the original film. It sticks there among the. No, I guess it is because. Well, no, we don't really know when it is relative to the Mad Max films that we got in the 1980s. But it's part of that saga, of course.
Right, we know where it is relative to Furiosa.
Right.
And it's around the first one, but that's irrelevant. Anyway,
Yeah.
Because we saw Max. Yeah.
Right. And Transformers 1. Is a franchise that began in the 1980s. Rick also reminds us that this doesn't include the streamers, which had films like Axel F and Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Which, the way these companies report or don't report their subscription followers, viewership, earnings, etc., we can't really align them neatly with these other films. But both of those were very successful for their respective streamers. Rick closes out his message with, quote, "When I look at this list, I appreciate the 80s are still going strong, but also it is really sad as I see almost nothing that is original material, so many sequels or reboots. I weep for my children's formative years."
Oh, no.
Well,
gosh.
Well,
that's a two-parter. I mean, there's 80% new stuff because only 20% of it, by Cat's math, was actually related to the 80s. So there's a further 80% that isn't related to the 80s. But then again, if these Gen Alpha people, if their formative years are seeing riffs off of 80s stuff, that could be worse. That's all right.
Right.
At least they're getting quality. They're getting good franchises.
And I know Rick Parker's a great dad. He's showing them the originals.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe yes. Right.
Yep.
He's just, the future generally, children of the world.
Oh, yeah. You can't show all of them, all the 80s movies. Or get on it, Rick. Come on, figure out a way to make sure that
I don't know.
Make sure it's important that your kids see Caligula. It's really imperative. Well,
I don't know that Rick is as prolific in that way as Caligula, that he'd have that many children, Kat. I'm not.
No, I meant you. You said children of the world.
Yeah, I know. And then you said Rick, get on it. I mean, he didn't.
Get on the love train. The love train.
Marcus points out that the top 10 were all sequels. Wow. That's probably what Rick's talking about, right? That's a bummer.
Yeah.
And which is exactly why they make sequels. Because the top 10 are sequels. Guess what they're going to make next year? More sequels.
More.
It's because that's where the money is. It's so difficult to get an original franchise. Stop trying to make franchises is the point. Just try to make good movies. But barring getting a good movie out there, a franchise is, often is a tent pole for a publisher, and it keeps them afloat because we know these are going to make money, and then we can afford to do other stuff. So
yeah.
It does seem though that the affording to do other stuff has sort of fallen more by the wayside, right? You don't see these big studios necessarily having smaller, divisions that take more chances.
That stuff's on Apple TV. That stuff's on Hulu. Yeah, those interesting, weird one-off things. Those are the adventurous houses that do that now, it seems.
So it's on streaming. Yeah.
Marcus is bitching about sequels while watching them is kind of dumb.
I wasn't currently watching them.
And we wouldn't have a podcast if we went by these kinds of rules, Marcus.
That's right.
Exactly what I do. Bitch about things I like.
We can't be held back by rules.
Yeah. And hey, we should take a moment to say hi to everybody because I can see Marcus's comments because he's joined us on the live stream here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and other platforms.
Yes.
I see Darth Baca is on there and Doug is on there.
And that's all didn't even have the comments showing, and now I do. I'm all straightened out here.
And anybody else who's out there may just be lurking, and that's cool. Yes. I am going to take a drink of water.
Go for it. Maybe I'll do the same.
I had a lot of fun on New Year's. See, now I'm going to cut this out. I'm still hydrating from that.
I'm hydrating from my long drive of trying not to drink water, but eating lots and lots of salty sunflower seeds to help keep me alert and focused.
You should eat sponges. Then you won't have to go to the bathroom either, and you can keep drinking. Yeah.
Well, but then you got to pass them.
But that takes hours. That's like 6 hours you bought yourself.
How do you pass a sponge?
That could take 6 hours too.
At first, it kind of wrings itself out, right? And then you pass the dry sponge.
John, there's only one path out. Yeah. Right. Oh, I see. You mean like
there's two paths out, but only one for the sponge. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess it. Yeah.
You see.
Right. That might not be. That might take longer than the car ride.
This is an '80s show about pop culture.
If you couldn't tell.
Yeah, just for anybody tuning in right now. Hey, in other 1980s news, as reported by the BBC, we've got a sad story here. 2 men were found dead while searching for Bigfoot. So of course immediately I thought about John, but not because of his love of Bigfoot, as you be clear.
Because he hopes I die in the woods.
Not wishing ill upon him or anyone for that matter. I feel bad for these guys, but I don't know. It should have been anticipated, I suppose. Well, according to authorities in Washington State, 2 men from Portland, Oregon were found dead after a 3-day search was launched on Christmas Day after a family member reported that the pair had not returned from a trip to the Gifford Pinchot National Forest to search for proof of the mythical hairy forest-dwelling bipedal primates.
That's a lot of adjectives.
Bipedal? Bipedal. Bipedal primates. Now, first of all, look, I know how we are, so it's not like I want to just goof on these guys. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got to imagine this. Look, it's sad that this family member had to be like, well, where are these 2 guys whose identities we don't know yet?
Right. Yeah.
But the last words were to them, because we know this were, hey, we're going to go out and look for Bigfoot. We'll be back. And I don't know what my reaction is. I think if I were these folks, I don't know. I'd be like, you know what? Maybe not now. Maybe not ever. Maybe stay for Christmas. Christmas is obviously right around the corner. Maybe bring a coat. I mean, these guys, it turns out, were ill prepared for what they were about to face. Cap?
Yes, and wasn't there a weather warning? There was a severe weather warning. Yeah, it's good to pay attention to stuff like that.
Well, and you got to wonder, maybe that was, like you look at the almanac and find out when it's good to go fishing. It might be that they're like, oh, well, maybe when it's stormy or overcast, maybe that's good Sasquatching weather or something. Maybe they chose to go because of the severe. I don't know. I'm not saying that I've done all the Sasquatch research on how to find them, but I've done some. But it could be that they actually chose to go then, but were ill prepared for the severe conditions. Yeah.
I love how you turned that into a verb to go Sasquatching.
Sasquatching.
Yeah. I think that is what,
good weather for Sasquatching.
I think that is what it's called, Kat. Yeah, like fishing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sure, it's like frog gigging. I'm going out trying to find some wildlife of this variety.
You know, I think maybe I'm just trying to clean myself up in this new year here. I just tossed a joke out that I normally would say.
It's very mature of you.
You're leaving us curious.
No, you don't want to know.
No, okay, all right.
It's akin to some joke your husband would tell us, probably.
Oh no.
That means it's good.
Yeah, the weather was bad. It turns out conditions in the Cascade Mountains had been frigid in the days before and during the search, which included snow, freezing rain, and temperatures falling below freezing. I think the one tragic thing about this is it puts a number of other folks in danger as they go looking for these two folks.
Yes.
Right.
On this hunt.
Yes. That's the problem. Yeah.
And over 60 volunteers searched with aircraft and dogs in heavily wooded terrain and brutally cold weather conditions. And according to the Skamania County Sheriff's Office, quote, the deaths appeared to be due to exposure based on weather conditions and ill preparedness. End quote. Yeah, not surprised.
Exposure to Bigfoot or weather? Is it?
They didn't have Bigfoot fighting armor on. Like that bear guy. Remember that bear man? What was that?
Yeah.
You need that bear suit so you can fight bears?
like you, I don't want to make light of these gentlemen that lost their lives, obviously, out in the wilderness.
No.
But I do think it was disrespectful they didn't assume maybe they ran into Bigfoot. Like nobody, look, they're out there doing that thing. Why wouldn't your first assumption be these guys were successful in their endeavors and maybe that's why they're not back? That's not what they assume. They're in the storm. They probably succumbed to. I think it's disrespectful that these Bigfoot hunters, they didn't have to prove they weren't killed by Bigfoot, that it was something else. They assumed it was that.
Right. Yeah.
But then they found out that it wasn't Bigfoot, probably.
Yeah. I mean, they proved it later, but.
Right.
Maybe.
I understand.
Or, to John's point, did Bigfoot make it look like they died of exposure?
He has ice breath, is what you didn't know.
That's what I'm picturing. That's what I'm
like
picturing.
Superman.
Yes.
And then he lays the bodies out in a way that they were huddling for warmth or something.
Right.
Maybe they had coats on. He took the coats off of them. Marcus says, out of reverence for their nonsense, they should have been left out as Bigfoot feet.
Well, we don't know that's what he eats.
That's true. Yeah.
Here's a twist. Turns out they were abducted.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
And redeposited, of course.
Yeah.
So it turns out that there's hundreds of sightings of Sasquatch reported in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, good. Here comes my favorite part of this story. Keep going, Will.
Well, it might not be. Well, we're going to take a little. We're going to diverge from the main story for a moment.
All right. I'll hang in there.
Yes.
In the Pacific. So yeah, there's hundreds of sightings there in that Pacific Northwest, which is the northwest of the United States and the western area of Canada. And it seems like, based on doing a little digging, that maybe John knows this already, that the origins of this particular cryptid began in British Columbia.
Yeah.
There have been 37 notable Sasquatch sightings near the town of Harrison Hot Springs, which is in BC, since 1900. Regular sightings have kept a popular legend alive, but now it's being told from an indigenous perspective. The change is driven by the public interest in the idea of a Sasquatch rooted in spirituality and symbolism rather than sensationalism. Turns out the creature's considered sacred to the West Coast First Nations, particularly Stahelis, who have lived in the Harrison River Valley for at least 10,000 years. In fact, the name itself, Sasquatch, is the anglicized version of Saskets, which means hairy man in the Stahelis dialect.
Cool.
And according to Kelsey Charlie, a Stahelis band counselor, he says, quote, the word comes from a mountain that's called Saskatchewan, the place where the Sasquatch gather.
Right, which means hairy mountain. We got it.
Yeah. Oh.
John, are you booking your trip? Are you going to the hairy mountain?
I've spent some time in the Pacific Northwest, not Bigfoot hunting, but
Okay.
I loved it when I would go there for business. The further northwest, if you went to Oregon or you went to Washington State or whatever, the density of awareness of Bigfoot as a cryptid, like it goes from being something you hear about to something that's in the convenience stores, right? It's very frontmost in their mind. It's not like, oh yeah, remember there was a legend of Bigfoot. Like it's out there because, as you said, it kind of originated from there. You know, down here in the Southeast, we have the skunk ape, which is really kind of an Evergladesy kind of Florida thing, which is a variant of, yes, you know, well,
skunk
really?
ape?
Yes. Well, Yeti is effectively like a winter region Bigfoot.
Right.
And in the very humid, arid, hot areas, we have the skunk ape, which is another variant or subspecies or something of Bigfoot. Yep.
Do you want to share some of the dude powder with him? It sounds like he might need it. Skunk ape. Oh man.
Yeah.
And there is some sort of unifying theory or thought that these are folks, you know, these are creatures that are part of the same species of great apes that have been, you know, forgotten by history or remain so, you know, secluded, living among us in our various lands. So yeah, they have different names in different areas and maybe very different. No, it sounds like I'm buying into this bullshit. All right.
What? No, it's all making sense. See how much logic it makes when you talk about it.
All right. Anyway, on to the part John wanted to talk about. In Washington State,
that's right.
Turns out there have been so many sightings of Sasquatch that some communities have taken measures to protect the hairy mythological creature.
Whoa!
Mythological.
Whoa.
You don't establish laws to protect mythological things. They're pretty safe because they don't exist.
Wow.
I got to look up this law.
I mean, belief.
Keep going. You'll finish the law. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
All right. Yeah. So in Skamania County, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, where the place where the pair went missing, a person could get a year in jail or $1,000
$1,000 fine for fucking with Bigfoot.
If you mess with one of them.
Thank you. Vindication.
Yeah. You get penalized if the folklore creature is, quote, harmed.
Don't do it.
I want to. I would like to have been on city council. You know, there's got to be a guy like me there that's like, hang on, if we're doing this, let's add unicorns and a Loch Ness monster, and let's just put them all in there.
Hey, we're not putting riders on my Sasquatch bill. You open your own bill.
That's pork. You're adding pork to my bill.
How about the Jersey Devil?
Yeah, why not?
Let them worry about that. Look, there's no Jersey Devils in the Pacific Northwest. What's wrong with you, Cat?
And then you have no problem adding it, Your Honor. Now, look, I just got this story. Marcus just sent this to me. It's a riff off of this thing. It turns out that while these folks are searching, and I know John thinks this is a bullshit joke I'm making up. No, this is serious. That thieves, this is this headline. I haven't seen it till just now. Thieves stole gear while the rescue team recovered the two men who went looking for Sasquatch.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's see. The two men, blah, 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 blah. Huh. Well, that's the whole story. Not very much.
Thieves stole what gear?
The thieves
rescuers gear? Or
thieves cut through a 10-foot barbed wire fence and stole gear from trailers.
Wow.
The rescue team said the search and rescue team at the county's office is facing a significant setback. Thieves stole equipment while crews were out recovering the bodies of the two Portland men who went missing. Jeez Louise.
Again, they leap right to thieves. It could be Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Tearing through the fence and stealing stuff. You know.
Yes.
Does Sasquatch get fined for messing with their stuff?
No.
For stealing?
Sasquatch is above the law.
Yeah,
it's protected wildlife.
Sasquatch is not bound by the laws of mankind. Cat. Yeah.
Come on, Cat.
He's bipedal.
Hairy man makes his own laws.
Oh, man. That'd be something if Sasquatch was stealing the gear to try to slow them down after making it look like they died from exposure. Oh.
See how smart they are? That's why I got to protect them.
if they've remained hidden for 10,000 years, well, I guess not entirely, because like we mentioned, there's these native people that, have been aware of them for that long. I'm talking like they really exist. This is a bunch of bullshit.
I wonder if they call on each other to help create distractions. Like Skunk Ape, I need you to create a disturbance so I can steal some gear.
Skunk Ape, I need you to do some skunking. Skunk powers activate.
Y'all smell that?
Yeah.
It's coming from this direction. Let's head over here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Skunky.
Yeah. Well, speaking of
pragmatically, it's quite possible that they allowed these laws to take place because I'm
listening.
Because people like to goof on Bigfoot and they put on costumes and pretend blah blah blah, and they might get shot, right? If they're out there perpetrating, like they are Bigfoot, and so you got to protect Bigfoot, and by association, that protects knuckleheads who dress up like Bigfoot, so they're not shot by hunters. So
okay, all right.
It protects the real Bigfoot and the fake ones equally.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I have to look at it specifically. It does really seem like, at least based on this little bit we got, you'd have to be a real Bigfoot to be able to, claim damages, I guess.
Maybe you just have to be bipedal and a little hairy.
Maybe.
That'd be me. I'd pass it.
It's probably a good time to point out again, hey, this is a 1980s Now podcast where we talk about how the 1980s is still relevant today.
Do you need me to point out? I mean, we had such a fascination with Sasquatch and Bigfoot in the 1980s. He was even a character on The Bionic Man, for crying out loud.
I'm not complaining a bit.
So many in search of and various shows like that, showing terrible footage of
mysteries,
there you go.
Time Life, and well,
Marcus says there's a similar law in Florida. You get fined $3.50 for messing with Skunk Ape. Wasn't that a Hanna-Barbera cartoon? Skunk Ape.
Skunk Ape.
Switching gears here and thinking about another fictional character that is like a skunk, Stinkor from the He-Man universe, because per Deadline,
Stinkor.
Jared, remember Stinkor from He-Man?
Yeah. You don't get Stinkor? Oh,
you could have convinced me of that because I was not an avid watcher of He-Man. You totally could have had me there.
He's an action figure that actually stunk. Yeah.
What? No.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you guys are teasing.
He was an
me or not.
anthropomorphic skunk from the He-Man, Masters of the Universe line of characters that the Mattel mixed in patchouli oil or something into the mold so that it stunk, because that was his, one of his
the actual character, the figure, the toy.
Yeah.
Smelly. Yeah.
I'm Googling right now.
It's true.
Don't believe us.
Gosh, this is what I've created. This, just
oh wow, there it is.
Controversial.
Got it.
We trust but verify. That's all.
Not controversial. What would be the word? I don't know. Where you just doubt me the whole time. All right, anyway, so per Deadline, Jared Leto has been confirmed as Skeletor in an upcoming He-Man.
Not Stinkor.
Now,
Skeletor.
I literally Googled, because this is my feeling. This is just anecdotal. This is just my feeling. But I literally Googled this phrase.
All right.
Is Jared Leto box office poison?
Oh.
Because my recollection is there's very few films I like him in. I like him in the Blade Runner sequel, 2049.
Blade Runner, that's the one I was thinking. Yep.
That's it. End of list.
Oh.
He has a really small part, I think, in Fight Club, maybe. But
I don't remember the part. I saw that movie, but I don't.
Not really. I don't think he has any lines, maybe. But that's it. He was terrible as
and
a
there
Joker.
was such anticipation over his character actor preparation to play the Joker, which ended up being a flop. Both the film maybe so, but his portrayal kind of a flop too.
So this might not turn out as well as you might hope.
Look, the brand itself is so strong, right? I mean, certainly among folks of our generation, and not all the recent incarnations of He-Man have been as successful as others. We've had a few different animated versions on Netflix most recently. So there's a chance it could be good, but I don't know. I just have little faith in projects attached to him, and I don't know why. It may just be I don't like the guy. I don't know. Morbius is another example. That movie was garbage.
Yeah, that was not great. Also,
I don't know. He keeps getting chances.
Well, for Skeletor, at least he's going to be covered in some kind of prosthesis that maybe he will be recognizable enough. Maybe he'll escape the curse because the curse is hovering around him, and we lost track of him because he looks like Skeletor.
can't find him. The curse.
Right. The curse, like, where the hell did I put Jared Leto? He was just here.
Well, I'll go bother Stinkor.
I'm reminded that I can find him just to sniff around.
That's right. Played by Skunk Ape.
He played, I guess you could say played. Jared Leto played a character in the Haunted Mansion movie, which I really liked. The most recent one. He plays the
Hatbox Ghost?
Yes. Supposedly, although it doesn't sound like his voice, and it's a completely CGI character.
Oh, wow.
That character has somewhat of a skeletal face even, too. So maybe they thought that.
He was playing the ghost of Jared Leto's career.
Yeah, maybe. Brandon says Jared Leto is a talented actor who has played some really bad roles. He was great in Dallas Buyers Club. Yes, that was a movie I was thinking of. He's good.
Yeah,
that was definitely acting.
That's when I first was aware of him as an actor, and that such a good performance in that. It could be that has given him all these opportunities that he's. It could be right. He could just be going into horrible roles, but I mean, when I think I don't follow his career closely, but he has been like. The Joker's what I think of the most. He over prepared and over crazyfied and it made it almost like mythological. And it was just the Joker. It was nothing special. You know,
which Joker was that? You know, the most recent one. I haven't watched.
The Suicide Squad one.
Suicide Squad.
The first Suicide Squad, I think. Yeah,
which is probably like 3 Jokers ago. I think at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, that may have tainted my perception of him. Was a lot of the off-screen antics, supposedly, when he was playing that role, remaining in character and sending people boxes with rats in them. And
that's what that kind of stuff poisoned me on him personally. But
it's not necessary. Well, in addition to Skeletor, they've also cast the role of 3 other villains. So Leto will be playing Skeletor, as I mentioned. They've additionally cast Sam Wilson as Trapjaw. You can picture that character, I bet. Some actor named I don't. I'm guessing this is a Swedish or Norse name.
Somewhere Scandinavia. Yes.
Bjornsson.
I looked him up. He was in Game of Thrones. He played the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
Oh, he's the Mountain? Oh, okay. I never watched the show, but I'm familiar with that character.
I've heard of that, yeah.
Just a giant man. I thought what's his name was the Mountain? Aquaman. Jason Momoa. No, that's not right.
No. He was he was the
he was just a foothill.
Yeah.
He was the head of
he was a Craig.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, he was a what?
Craig, C-R-E-G.
Craig, yes.
All right. Well, the Mountain guy is playing Goat Man, which I don't know, and Koho Ata is playing Triclops. I don't know.
Who's playing Skunkor?
There's no Skunkor announced yet.
Stinkor.
There's no Skunkor.
Skunkor.
I just inflated.
Yeah. I feel like I don't even need to remind you about what the show is because you all know that. But of course, look, you can't think about. Talking about Skeletor conjures images of Frank Langella as that character from 1987's, I think, really bad adaptation of the story. We've talked about that before. But he wasn't a bad thing necessarily about that. They did what they did as far as prosthetics back then, and he went for it. And it turns out Langella, who was, an acclaimed actor, and so many other films I'd seen and loved him in before that, and since, it's one of his favorite roles of all time that he has played.
Really?
Yeah. And when asked whether he minds that folks think about him mostly as that role when he, meets fans, he said, quote, a lot of people talk to me about Skeletor, which is one of my favorite parts. They always say, did you feel you were slumming? And I say, absolutely not.
Huh.
My son was 4 years old and I wanted to see his father as Skeletor. And I loved playing it. It's one of my favorite parts still.
Wow. Very cool.
That's great.
We can see how Jared Leto, sizes up in 2026 when the movie comes out in June. Oh boy.
All right.
This year? That's soon, huh?
No, 2026.
Oh, next year.
Yeah,
okay,
next
so
year.
18 months away.
Yeah.
John's leaping ahead there.
Yeah, and actually to close out my question to Google, is Jared Leto box office poison? Google AI wrote no. Jared Leto is not box office poison, and explained, the films he's been in that have been successful.
Huh. So it understood your question. That's great.
Yeah. Brandon agrees. The Skeletor was the only redeeming thing about the 80s He-Man. Yeah, I agree. And it ended with, they implied there was going to be a sequel, with Skeletor kind of surviving, but nope.
Oh.
Surprise.
I'm glad on that. That was bad. All right. Hey, in other 1980s news, per game rant, per game, I'm going to take another drink of a little bit of water here.
Sure.
Me too.
So there's a game rant, like a screen rant.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it must have been a trend at some point to just sound upset about things, I guess. Yeah.
Rant.
In other 1980s news, per game rant, Secret Level's horrifying Pac-Man is getting its own game. There's actually a twist in this that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
That answers my question. I was going to say, so have you seen it yet, Kat? But since she shivered, she's seen it.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yes. I shivered. And I had my husband watch it, but I did not tell him what he was watching because you guys suggested that.
Yeah. How'd it go?
About it. He got it eventually. It took a while, but he kept asking, what is that? What? I said, just watch. And, but I told him what, I cued him somehow. Like, what does this remind you of? Or what can you connect this to? And I forget exactly which point, but towards the end, he was like, Pac-Man? So he got it. I don't think I would have necessarily.
Well, yeah, certainly not till the end when the little orb looks like a Pac-Man.
Yeah,
and then the giant fleshy thing it creates is a giant Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Even then, I don't know if my brain would have allowed me to put those two together.
Right. Because an orb is a thing. I know a lot of people compared it to Phantasm that had these orbs with knives in them. And there have been dangerous orbs before that weren't Pac-Man. So I can see how you might miss the connection entirely if you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably been floating orbs that talk as well, or sentient, or AI, or that's kind of a Well, anyway, it turns out the terrifying episode, as I mentioned, is blah blah blah. I basically repeated that in the headline. Titled Shadow Labyrinth, the newly revealed game is being positioned as part of Pac-Man's 45th anniversary celebrations. We talked about how much Kat hadn't seen it at the time, but how much John and I had loved this horrifying, haunting episode, and its connections, it's connections to the video game. So it's really cool to find out that there's an actual video game that's like this episode that we'll be able to play soon. Okay.
Will it be here? I have a couple of questions. I don't know if maybe you guys can answer this. I'm wondering, will it be as gory or horrifying as the clip? Will the game be what the clip was? And I have another question, but I'll ask that in a minute. It's about the title of the game.
Oh, yeah.
The name of the game.
Well, I don't know how gory it's going to get, but certainly the art style is almost identical, but not as zoomed in. So you are the character wearing the trench, like trench coat or the tarp or whatever, and the orb is flying around you, kind of leading you around the world, or you're controlling them both or whatever. So in as much as the art style is the same, I suppose if we zoom in on something and see a kill something, it might be. They had not showed any explicit goriness yet, but it's kind of implied based on Circle.
Right. Yep. That's exactly. Yep. Yeah. And for folks who don't know, what we're talking about here is this episode of this TV series on Amazon Prime, called Secret Level, that took inspiration from various video games and Dungeons and Dragons, so various nostalgic media or games, I guess, generally, as inspiration for these short 10-minute-ish films. And the one that we're talking about here, obviously, is Pac-Man. It maintains some recognizable elements of the original video game, at least in name, concepts, or conceptually. We've got a metaphorical maze, if not a literal prison of sorts, that the maze is in the video game. Like we mentioned, we've got some things that, there's Kat, she's gone. Your eyes just wide.
Come on. We're not explaining this twice. Come back in.
So and as we mentioned, you've got the orb and some other things that are like the video game. Blah blah blah. Let's see, where did I end off here? Okay, so so they take this real bold, take. Marcus said, "Oh my God, they killed Kat." So the
Sasquatch got her.
The folks over the folks. Oh, she's messaging us now.
Oh,
Wi-Fi problem. Oh boy.
What are you messaging me? I'm in a show, Kat. What are you doing?
Happy New Year, Kat. Let's see. She's coming back here.
Oh.
Wait, we got to change our thing here. Hang on. There we go.
Oh, there I am. I don't know what happened. I just left, and here I am.
All right. We'll just pick up where we left off.
So, the last thing I heard was, what was the last thing I heard? I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Well, audio.
We'll fix it in post. Don't worry.
Audio.
Yes.
He's a wizard.
I'll start here. So for folks who don't know, we're talking about Secret Levels. It's an Amazon Prime series that takes its inspiration from various games that we liked, actually even contemporary games, but some of them are from nostalgia, including Dungeons and Dragons. But the one that caught our attention the most is this one that was an adaptation of Pac-Man, which is haunting and horrifying, just as we mentioned. It's visceral, it's gory, it's somewhat, I would say, akin to some body horror that we see in live action, some of the imagery and some of the things.
And very divisive, too.
Is that right?
There are people pretty much love it or hate it, pretty much, is what I've seen. Yeah. I did a analysis of it on YouTube. And
you did? Yep.
People were like, I loved it, it's my favorite. And this is the worst thing ever, the running Pac-Man. There's almost no middle. It's almost no middle.
Like I could see that.
This is so ridiculous to me. Like, love it or don't like it, but hate it. I mean, how do you get to the point of, that's not my Pac-Man?
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
Like we were talking about just a moment ago, they're so different that you could conceivably watch the short film and never know it's Pac-Man.
Yes, true.
So how could that interfere with your enjoyment of the video game from 45 years ago?
The fact that it exists makes people angry. That's the world we live in. Yeah.
Crazy. Yep. Anyway, so they took a lot of bold swings with their short film, and Bandai Namco likewise took some really, some leaps of imagination to create this video game, Shadow Labyrinth, which is clearly tied to the Secret Level episode. But it turns out it's not an adaptation; it's the other way around.
Yeah.
As the development of the game started long before the show, which I feel like that's been kind of hidden from us, right? We talked about this. And the story they're making us sound like these Secret Level folks, creators Tim Miller and his team, were challenged to create what Namco said was something that would make people think, what did you do to Pac-Man?
Right.
And it took them a while to come up with the right thing. But if they were given this video game as a thing,
I think it was a little bit of subterfuge, but a little bit of creativity. It's probably a half truth in that they're like, you want to do something radical? We're doing this crazy thing in a game next year. Let's give you the elevator pitch, show you some artwork, and see what crazy thing you can do with it. So I expect the truth is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. That's what I imagined happened. And also that's part of what fueled my question about, I wonder if the game is going to be as gory, body horror, all of that. Because maybe not. Maybe in this short, they wanted to really ramp things up or take things in that direction.
Yeah, the footage we've seen, like John mentioned, they haven't provided anything that looks violent, but it does look like you're working side by side with this orb that's helping you. So I guess we don't know if they have this. If they have the same goals necessarly. In the movie, we learn that the orb is manipulative.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So I had this high school English teacher analysis that I did that I kind of like, what does this mean? What does this represent? And then after I published that, I had people come back in the comments, awesome, with other interpretations. I'm like, I didn't think of it that way. So if you've seen the short, essentially this humanoid is consumed by the orb in order to gain the ability to fight the ghost. So I equated that, what is the thing in the world of Pac-Man that Pac-Man consumes to give it the ability, as a power pellet. It's a consumable. It's a thing that is grown and harvested to give Pac-Man special abilities. And I thought I was a genius. Like, that's super analytical and smart of me. And then someone said, you might be right, John, but maybe the humanoid character represents the real player in the real world who puts a quarter in the machine. I'm I hadn't thought of he's outside the world and in acts.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So it's open. The fact that it's open to that kind of interpretation and ways to look at it and things it can means it's good whether you like it or not. In my opinion, if you think it's horrible, it made you think. Unless you just chose not to think about it and you're just being intransigent about it. But I think it's good in that it makes you think and it presents it in a weird way. And even when I thought I had all figured out, somebody came in, out of the corner and went, no, what was this? Which is pretty cool.
It is very cool.
Yeah, it makes me think of like not this is not what's happening, obviously, but like Last Starfighter, like the Pac-Man video game being this sort of test of finding someone who could help the Pac-Man get out of this.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of being intransigent, Marcus says it was the worst thing ever.
There we go.
Didn't ruin Pac-Man.
I didn't ruin Pac-Man. That's good.
He's not thinking straight these days. I forgive him.
Oh man.
We're at that point, I guess, right?
We are. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
We've arrived.
To know. I remember a few weeks ago, you're like, wait, you gotta wait. Hold on. I was like, I got some stuff lined up. Okay.
Got him in the chamber.
Yeah. I look forward to playing it. It looks pretty cool. I hope there's a little more maybe connective tissue between this and Pac-Man. Otherwise, why is it Pac-Man?
Right. Well, okay. Here's my question about the name. So it's called Shadow Labyrinth. And when I read that, I'm like, well, that doesn't say anything about Pac-Man to me, really. Like Labyrinth, okay, Pac-Man's in a maze. That's fine. But then I remembered that the ghosts or monsters have, there's two sets of names for them. So it's Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde, but they have nicknames, or is it the other way around, of Shadow, and then there's what is it, Bashful and Speedy and Pokey. So
there you go.
Is this a reference to one of the ghosts?
I like that, Kat. I think it's very insightful and very, quite possibly, yes. You could say this is effectively, this is Blinky's Labyrinth.
Right. Which makes me wonder if there's, the other ghosts
which
are
could be
different.
Or of course it could be interpreted as this is a darker version of that maze. There's the shadow, which is a little more pedestrian in terms of the usage of the word shadow. It could have an implication the other way, certainly.
Yeah.
I have it around here somewhere. But when I was a kid, I loved Pac-Man so much.
Yeah.
I started drawing my own Pac-Man comic book. I had these visions of Cat's reaching for her.
I have it. I do.
How the hell do you have it?
It's in reach. And it's in reach.
In a box buried in the
right here. I did too. Yes.
She is like Mary Poppins. I don't.
Do you have a bag of holding there next to you? You just reach in like all of my treasure is in this one sack.
So one of my comics, because I imagined, this was going to be a series, and I was 10 years old.
Oh, I love that.
One of my comics was exploring what is inside the ost's house. And Pac-Man actually goes in there, and it turns out to be like a haunted house, spider webs and monsters and stuff, and so he gets the hell out of there. But you made me think that when you were suggesting maybe Shadow is a reference to the shadow, the ghost that is like a shadow to you. Because I think those imply the sort of abilities or characteristics of the different.
That's
ghosts.
Right.
Yeah. One's right on your ass, one's faster.
Yes.
He shadows you. He stays on your tail. He's always trying to get to where you are, so he shadows you. Right.
So maybe the labyrinth could be something like that. The game will feature around 30 unique bosses, each requiring specific abilities to defeat. While most of its gameplay deviates from the classic Pac-Man formula, sections where the protagonist transforms into a puck will mimic the series' signature mechanics.
The puck.
I don't know what that. Maybe there's that merging like in the video in the movie.
Right.
Maybe right without killing, or maybe it's with killing and he picks up another one. I don't know.
Yeah, but maybe
there are little snippets in the trailer that you can see a small Pac-Man like working his way around a wall, appears to be eating something.
Oh,
so so there's that Pac-Man mechanic, but maybe who knows? I think all bets are off. It could be anything. This game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is.
We don't have a concrete release date, but it's tentatively aiming to hit the market in 2025. intended to be part of the celebrations dedicated to the 45th anniversary, which falls on May 21st.
All right.
All right, there you go. All right, hey, another
22nd.
1980s news.
Wait, what? What did you say, John?
I was being pedantic. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
I said or 22nd, depending on who you ask.
Oh, got it. Yes.
Is that right?
It was
Damn.
calendar related. So, yes.
Yeah. And it kind of doesn't matter because it hit different parts of the world at different times. So the date is not that important. It's 1980. That's all that matters.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What order does this matter in? Does it matter? We'll do this one first.
Sure.
In other 1980s news, per Screen Rant, an 80s trend has aged remarkably well for decades later. So while only a few theatrical franchises receive animated TV spin-offs, think about Back to the Future, Beetlejuice, Ghostbusters, this 80s phenomenon precipitated a major change in contemporary Hollywood. At least according to Screen Rant. Like I said, maybe this is the one where I was like, maybe a little bit of a reach. I think we would have evolved this way, or maybe there were some analogs or things that predate this kind of idea, right?
Okay.
Anyway, although the first blockbuster is often credited as 1975's Jaws, it wasn't until the 1980s that movie franchises truly flourished. Films including Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, and a slew of horror films saw multiple sequels released during that decade. The 1980s, however, also birthed another phenomenon popularized during our favorite era, the animated TV spinoff. And while some of these children's shows were questionable, including Rambo's The Force of Freedom or the Toxic Avengers' Toxic Crusaders.
Wow.
Which
RoboCop.
RoboCop. Which were softened for younger. They were very different than their film counterparts. They were for younger audiences.
Very much, yeah.
But many of these spin-offs allowed the popular franchises to a comparatively inexpensive way to expand their fictional universes. Shows like the Real Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, Back to the Future, which we mentioned, Teen Wolf, Karate Kid, Police Academy. Remember Police Academy had a cartoon?
Yeah.
I don't remember some of these. Some of them I saw because I was in the same room while they were playing. I don't remember a Back to the Future spin-off. I don't remember... what did you just say? Police Academy?
Police Academy, Karate Kid.
Karate Kid. So there was a Karate Kid cartoon.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure had a cartoon series.
I wasn't tuned in. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, and what else it kind of did is, yes, it expanded the universe, but it also served to keep the franchise in the front of mind of a public that they do not have a film to go see. So, that's a movie from 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 8 years ago. No. The cartoon is right now, right? It's still alive and reminding you to buy the toys and it's coming. So when a movie comes out, it's a better success now because the Ghostbusters cartoon kept you aware of the Ghostbusters until the next one came out, I think.
Good point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. As Screen Rant described it, talk about allowing these spin-offs to allow you to sort of keep up with your favorite characters on shorter weekly adventures while they're not on the big screen. Yeah.
Even if they weren't necessarily canonical, like maybe these things didn't exist. And maybe that's not really the Doc and Marty that we see in the next episode of Back to the Future.
Right.
But it kept me in love with the characters doing things that didn't count until the next movie where they did, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And some, they may be more beloved than the original films. I'm thinking about Beetlejuice in particular, which created a much more empathetic, I guess, friendly demon than we saw on screen that actually is close, is best friends essentially with the character. Yeah.
Beetlejuice and Lydia were it was a cop movie, a buddy cop movie, the whole thing, right? They were best of pals running around. Whereas then we see Beetlejuice, and the last thing she wants is to see him again.
Right.
But in the cartoon, they were pals.
In fact, I'm reminded that some folks before the sequel came out, were suggesting younger audiences that grew up on the cartoon, what are they going to make of this?
Oh, interesting.
That they're not going on adventures together, which could have been the way direction they took it,
Well, they had a falling out during the last adventure in the cartoon. So.
Yeah.
I never want to see you again.
They retcon it, yeah. Well, Screen Rant suggests that this in particular In this regard, oh, Screen Rant I gotta change this now because that's not how I'm getting into this. Oh, so Screen Rant suggests that streaming spin-offs of contemporary cinematic universes function a lot like the animated TV shows did for 80s franchises. So we've got smaller scale, Marvel shows, Star Wars shows, for example, that are less expensive, at least in theory. We just learned that season 1 of Andor cost $2 billion or something. Like, literally, I'd have to Google it, but it was like $1 billion, at least 1, maybe 2, to produce.
You'd think they could have afforded subtitles in that budget.
know, right?
I did enjoy Andor, but wow.
Not that much. $1 billion worth. But for the most part, they are generally cheaper to produce than these, multi-$100 million films.
That's like 4 Red Ones is what that is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy Moses.
But to John's point, they're able to extend and keep this brand alive and keep these characters alive on a smaller screen while they're not in theaters, and maybe holding that space, for them in the future.
Yep, keeping them in the forefront there. Yeah.
The other thing that you can do now, in the 80s, the way you did it was make a cartoon. I'll take the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure cartoon, for example, which is ridiculous and
I want to watch it now.
And it has none of the original actors in it. I want to say maybe George Carlin was almost in it. I can't remember, but certainly it's not Keanu Reeves,
Right.
And it's not what's his name?
Alex Winter.
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh,
Thank you, Alex Winter. But
he was a guest on the show.
now, because there used to be, he was also. Sorry. Point on the draw. But now what you can do, back then, film and television, those were 2 different pillars of the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Movie stars weren't on TV.
Right.
And TV people aspired to get in the movies.
Yes.
You didn't do both.
Good point.
But now in this golden age of television that kind of started, I guess, probably 2005-ish or so, when these prestige television shows came along. Now it's not, the line is blurred, if not gone. So you can have movie stars show up in TV shows, and some of them are continuations of these franchises, and they'll actually be in them, whereas you couldn't even do that before. And that's a change in the proliferation of media and how we consume it, probably. But it's made this ability to continue movies and television richer and more canonical and more in line with what you're used to in the movies. So it's even better. Like, look at the WandaVision, the Marvel stuff. Those people in movies are in all these shows. Normally they wouldn't have been in the 80s ever. You'd never see a Chris Evans on TV unless he was doing a commercial for his movie. That was it.
Good point. So it's a hybrid now. That
for sure.
Yeah. Streaming shows.
Yeah, and to your point, John, I know we've discussed before that some of the Star Wars series on Disney have maybe appreciated even the prequels more. So there is this, because they add these additional richness or layers to these stories that I had otherwise dismissed. Yeah, I don't know that I would tie this nest. Look, you know me, I'm a huge fan of the 1980s and what it's birthed. But I feel like maybe this article is correct. I guess I'd be hard pressed to find, and probably it's just because of the availability of channels, and I mean it in a broader sense but really in a physical sense too, channels on television that would have allowed for us to have models like this paradigm in previous decades. There wasn't streaming. There wasn't cable in the 70s, really. I mean, a lot of opportunities.
The first example of this that I can think of that kind of broke through that barrier that I can remember is like Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was a live action television series that wasn't the people you knew necessarily. There wasn't all the same superheroes, but in the same universe, and continued along, especially in the heyday of Marvel. I think Marvel's kind of struggling right now in my mind with the fatigue for superheroes, but certainly in that early heyday of those Marvel Cinematic Universe films, you were dying to see the next one.
Yeah.
And to have this series that at least was some of the people you knew, and they were talking about the people in the movies, even if you didn't see them, it kept that thread running. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love Phil. Oh, yes.
Coulson, yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm a big Phil Coulson fan.
Captain America was just here. You just missed him. You hear a door closing sound in the background?
Tahiti, it's a magical place.
It's a magical place.
Yes, oh yes. Yeah, look, I dig it. If it came from the 80s, fantastic. I think it is a useful, thing for all the reasons we mentioned. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, final story in 1980s news, per Joe Blow, raises this question. Is Robert Eggers directing a film set in the world of Labyrinth? Rumors circulating that Nosferatu director Robert Eggers is being lined up to direct. Sorry. Huh. Did I change this whole thing? Maybe not. Okay. Rumors are circulating that Nosferatu director Robert Eggers is being lined up to direct a reboot of the fantasy classic Labyrinth. The 1986 cult film, directed by Muppets creator Jim Henson, produced by George Lucas, written by Monty Python star Terry Jones, and starring David Bowie, seemed destined for
There you go.
Fail?
Right.
I think ultimately it had more cult success than it did box office. But it also never had a sequel or remake. But that speculation has been rife for years. In fact, back far as 2016, reports have been making the rounds that a second installment was in the works. In 2017, it was announced that Don't Breathe's director Fede Alvarez had signed on to helm a spinoff of the film. I believe we talked about that when we talked about our long list of 1980s related films and checked on the status of them a year or so ago.
I think we did.
In fact, Jennifer Connelly, who starred in the original, was reported to be in conversations to return in the role as Sarah, the girl who searches through the labyrinth to find her baby brother Toby. But now it appears that we've taken a different path with Eggers, who's known for The Witch and The Lighthouse, which are good films. I like those movies. Being linked.
Well, The Witch is good.
Yeah, that's true. The Witch is fantastic. Yeah. Lighthouse is a little
Lighthouse.
weird. It's kind of weird. Yeah. But that via Jeff Snyder of the In Snyder, that Eggers is signed on for this project with Sony Pictures, which he would also co-write with Icelandic screenwriter and frequent Bjork collaborator. I'm cutting this all out. I can't pronounce these names.
Bjork?
I had a whole other problem before. Whatever.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is it's challenging to listen to.
Most
Just trying to keep it all straight.
It's hard to say.
He's who now? Collaborates with what? What
Yeah,
movie?
Don't even.
Okay,
It doesn't
got
matter. Don't worry about that. What you need to know is if these reports are true, Lisa Henson, according to the report, remains as a producer alongside Home Alone and Harry Potter director Chris Columbus, who also produced Nosferatu, I believe, for Eggers. Yeah. And would star Alexander Skarsgård as the Jareth, the Goblin King, the role that Bowie played. And Bill
There's some shoes to
Skarsgård.
fill.
What's that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Pants, right? You mean pants? Is that right?
Well, yeah.
Awfully tight pants to fill? Is that right?
Okay. Both, yeah, certainly.
Maybe
And
they're
Bill,
baggy.
Bill Skarsgård plays the vampire in the Nosferatu film right now. So this is a lot of folks that work together.
Cool.
I don't know.
You know,
Quite honestly,
Yeah,
Labyrinth was fine. I mean, do we need a new one? Maybe it would be better. I don't know.
Yeah, there's my double question. The first is there's a little bit of a blur in this article that it sometimes says it's in the world of, and sometimes it says a reboot. And you know my feelings on those. There's no need to reboot things that are fine.
right.
Just do more in the world. It's like those TV shows we just talked about. Don't pretend the movie didn't exist and then do a TV show. The TV show is about the movie. If you're going to make another movie, do it about the other movie and continue the story or in the same world or something. But that being said, aside, it might be irrelevant when you come down to Labyrinth is just one of those things. Does it need more exploration of its world? Is that going to make it better? Or the fact that it's so like poetically esoteric and weird that I don't know what's going on is part of what makes it magical. Why do you want to, here's how he was able to juggle those 3 crystal balls in one hand. What? Don't show me how he did it. That's part of the magic. He's a special race. He has suction cups on his fingers. No, don't tell me that,
Here's where he found each one of the balls.
Right.
And then finally he had 3.
Oh, no.
Right. It's a quest movie. Right? I'm worried that a reboot is one thing that I don't care for in general, but I'm worried that Labyrinth is something that does not need to be deeper explored, but it makes it less magical, I guess. I kind of said that already, but you know what I mean.
I don't think it needs to be done, But I'm always on board for anything to do with Muppets, puppets,
Yeah,
with the
Well, yeah.
Hensons. So
Oh.
if it happens, I'm ready to be entertained. I'm fine with it. I'm okay without it too. So we'll just have to see what happens.
I'm not going to not watch it, and I'm not going to claim it ruins Labyrinth. I'm just saying,
right? Yeah.
You could make an incredible movie that doesn't exist in the world of Labyrinth. It's just that feeling that you need it anchored in something to have a quick in with an audience to make that sequel money that we just talked about at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Now, just as a side note, I suppose, or maybe it's not a side note. Maybe it's what's the opposite of a side note? The main note, I guess.
Yes.
The front note. Maybe as a front note.
Front note, back note.
I mentioned that book, Douglas Burton's book, The Heroine's Labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And one of the aspects of the labyrinth, this concept, is that the hero has a linear journey, leaves home, fights a distant dragon, and returns home something.
He's changed. He's more mature. He's accomplished something. Yeah.
Will now be a better, civil servant or person, a member of society for it, better for it, the adventure. The heroine's labyrinth is not linear. It's more like a labyrinth.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Douglas points out, which is just kind of mind-blowing, is how many stories that focus on women that have metaphorical labyrinths, sure, which often represent the constructs of society and expectations of society. But in some films, like this one, literal labyrinths.
Yes.
Just popped off in my head. Millie Bobby Brown just did that film called Damsel, where she was literally in this cavern in a labyrinth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she was on this quest to anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Also mind-blowing is how many times we've said the word labyrinth on this episode.
Yeah.
Because of Shadow's Labyrinth and the Heroine's Labyrinth and now the movie Labyrinth and oh my gosh.
Very thematic this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm going to have to dub in at the beginning the secret word so that we could all just scream throughout this whole show. But yeah,
the rubber chicken falls when someone says labyrinth.
Yes, the secret word. I won't go into all the archetypes. Listen to the interview; it's really cool. But as I was reading the book, this movie is so perfect for this analysis, including the fact that some of these movies some stories that feature labyrinths in these female-centric stories, the entrance to the maze is near home. And hidden. And again, Alice in Wonderland, Westworld.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Whereas the hero's labyrinth, he goes off on a journey.
Yes.
The woman's labyrinth tends to be a hidden place near home. I see.
Yes. And it's not a hero's labyrinth because it's linear. It's not a labyrinth. It's a
hero's
journey.
Okay.
Right. Journey.
I think
Yeah.
Sorry.
Heroine's labyrinth, hero's journey. Got it.
Yeah. And along those lines, and I want to be kind to Robert Eggers because I think he's a great filmmaker, which was great. I saw Nosferatu, which was a good film. I think ultimately it fails for me. Maybe it's just because of the story, and I don't blame him because I think he was just trying to, faithfully adapt the 1922 silent film into a talkie, and in that he probably succeeded, and maybe even he's made something even better because of technology and sort of like that.
I thought you were going to say because you don't believe in vampires.
That too, Bigfoot and vampires.
That's another theme.
Yeah.
Right. Among the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you don't know, I thought this is fascinating, right? So Nosferatu is this 1922 German silent film.
Which I've seen.
Okay. Oh, wow. We got to do a podcast about 1920s pop culture. Cal, be an expert.
Probably.
We finally found a movie Cat saw. Yeah. Someone called Ripley.
Yeah. Fantastic. We can be done now. But I had always thought and heard that they made the movie, and it's Nosferatu. It's set in Germany, different country. It's all different character names, but it's the story of Dracula because they couldn't get the rights to Bram Stoker's Dracula. It turns out that might not be true.
Oh.
According to this gentleman who's a film historian, David Callett, he explained that the low-budget film was made by Germans for a German audience, and that explains all the variations, why they moved it to Germany, why they were German-named characters, and so forth. They weren't trying to avoid a copyright infringement lawsuit, which, by the way, they got from Stoker's heirs.
Anyway, okay.
Oops.
The ultimate judgment was, by the court, destroy all copies of the film.
No.
Much like the fabled vampire himself, the movie survived anyway, Of course, it's still available to watch today.
Yeah.
This movie's it seems like it's going to be a big success. They did this really kind of cool thing where they did sort of counter programmed in Christmas and had it kind of like we talked about a few episodes ago about horror movies and joy occasions.
Yeah.
And it worked. I saw it on the day after Christmas myself. So it's doing well at the box office. It's a great story. When I think about though Eggers doing Labyrinth, and we're talking about this idea that this heroine story where, like John was saying, it's metaphorical. It's inside. It's kind of you're not really sure what's going on, except she goes on a journey, or maybe doesn't.
Right.
By the end of the story, she is a changed person, and it may be an allegory entirely from just going from puberty to adulthood. But the way this Nosferatu ends, and I won't spoil it for you, it's just so it's kind of a letdown. And again, maybe he was just adapting faithfully the silent film. But the silent film differs from Dracula in a significant way, which has to do with the ending, which again I won't ruin. I guess my point is to say that I hope that maybe he needs to get some women involved. If it's going to be a story about a young person going through a journey, maybe he needs some women involved, because this story, the Nosferatu story, much like the Dracula story, has a woman at the center of the story, and it's got to be handled the right way. Otherwise, I think it comes across like a dude telling a woman's tale. It's kind of how I felt about the ending of Nosferatu.
Got it. Got it.
So we're seeing though, yeah, no.
Yeah,
no.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It wasn't until the end where I was like, oh, really? That's how this goes?
Oh,
love saves the day again. Bullshit.
You're not getting anything out of me.
Okay.
Just
saying.
In a sense, if you've seen Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola, and now we're talking about something in the early 90s, so we're getting closer to the 80s.
Yeah.
It is kind of love saves the day. And that one's supposedly a faithful adaptation of the book. Because Mina does at the end say, like, you know what? I love you, Dracula. I want to be with you forever. Turn me into a vampire. And stuff happens,
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm trying not to give anything away. Anyway, I'll leave it the way I did. Maybe, Eggers has got to get a hold of Douglas's book. There you go.
Yeah. Send it to him.
Yeah. Get them together.
Yeah. Put them in the writer's room.
Yeah.
Brandon says Labyrinth needs to be left alone. It was great to start with.
All right.
And it's fine.
There you go.
Don't mess with things that are fine. Marcus has come up with a new way for us to advertise this show by quoting Cat. It's challenging to listen to.
Oh, no.
Huh.
Yeah, you can just put that on the poster. Put that on. It's going to be the masthead of our website.
Put that in the press kit. Yeah.
Yeah, on top of our media kit. Challenging to listen to. Cat, co-host.
If you enjoy a challenge, you're going to love 1980s now.
Right. Do you find it's too easy?
Incomprehensible doesn't even approach it.
Right.
It's like a labyrinth that you have to get through.
Ooh,
there you go.
There goes again.
Yeah. Do you find it's too easy to listen to your current podcast? Well, have we got a show for you? You won't understand any of this bullshit. The host can't pronounce Northlandic. What is it? Nordic names? I don't know. What's the word? Or larynx. Larynx.
1980s now lives at the intersection of Bigfoot and what else?
Tower
Cocaine
of Babel.
bears.
The skunk ape.
True crime.
Don't forget about the skunk ape.
All right. Hey, that was the show. We do not have patchouli oil baked into us, so at the very least we can
So we can go in the comic shop. Good for us.
And our show does not smell.
It does not smell. And it is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters. Rick
Also not smelly.
The non-smelly Rick Parker and Karen Flieger.
Yay.
Yeah, who also gave us that first news item to talk about.
That's right.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you especially to our success level Patreon supporters. Tony.
Oh, that stunk cat.
The secret of our smell sass.
Smell sass. Tony Great, Matt Marino, John Henderson, Brandon Greer, Nick Guillory, and Marcus Taylor.
Yeah, Marcus Taylor, who sent us that breaking news during the show.
Oh,
This just in.
Yeah. Oh, hey, look, these guys are fantastic. You can join them. Go to patreon.com/1980s now to help us keep this show afloat week after week. But if you can't do that, or even if you do that, please subscribe to us on all the various platforms
Why
that
not?
we are available.
It's free.
Yeah. And that little thing seriously tells a robot what to recommend to somebody else. If you don't subscribe, you're letting the robots win because they just start picking whatever garbage they want.
Don't let the robots win.
Yeah, then they have free will. Tell them what to do.
Right. You know how Will feels about AI. We need to straighten this out right now.
Oh, yes.
Facebook, YouTube, all of the podcast platforms. And here's the thing. Go listen to us on Apple, subscribe. Then switch over to iHeartRadio. Subscribe there too. Go down the list. All right. Hey, join us for a live some Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, where we record the show in front of a live streaming audience. All right. Join us next time, okay? We will talk to you again next time on 1980s Now.
Until next time.
Labyrinth.
I'm losing my voice. That's that dehydration.
I heard that.
I always, you say that, John. That's how I remember how to spell it. Labyrinth. If I don't think of it that way, I can't spell
me too.
it right.
Labyrinth.
Yep.
I get the Y in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I can't spell island without seeing the cartoon that goes, is water, is land.
Oh,
I don't know what that is. Is that Bugs
Oh,
Bunny
yeah.
or
Well,
something?
it's just two arrows. There's a cartoon
Okay.
island. There's one arrow pointing out the ocean, is water. And there's one pointing at the island that says, is land.
Is land.
Is land. Island. That's how you spell islands. And I can't
great.
spell island without seeing that cartoon in my head.
And that's never occurred to me either as a way of remembering how to spell it as a kid.
So you don't have to think of it to spell it. It's just that you
It just happens. I know how to spell island, but if I-S, little cartoon. L, it's just, I've already spelled it. It's just like, cartoon.
It's like in the same folder. You know.
It is in the same folder, right? I've flipped through. Yeah.
All right. Hey, guys, I'd love to chat, but we still have folks here visiting for New Year's. So I'm going to say goodbye. And thank you. And thanks for everybody who's hanging out with us tonight. We hope to see you again next week. Please come back. We'll have a lot of fun.
Yes.
Got some guests lined up for 2025, some interesting interviews, I think, that look at some of our pop culture in ways I had not considered.
All right.
Including the one that's with Douglas later this week.
So you're stretching things out.
And we guarantee it will be challenging to listen to. So come on.
Yes. We may do the show backwards next week.
All right.
We'll start by saying goodbye.
Yes. Imagine following
We'll do
that
the main
show.
story, some news articles. Then we'll all say hello. Then you'll play the video.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder, there's got to be a way for me to print the script out in reverse. Like I write it forward and there's a program that just prints the words out backwards.
Like every word in back. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I
I was going to say it backwards, right? Is it?
Backmasking? Is that what that's called?
Yes,
This me.
Hey, John, I saw the spot where he throws all the papers at the end.
Oh,
Wow, you take a picture?
I did. Oh,
good. Is it a wastebasket?
No, not exactly. I mean, you
it's
could call it that, but yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a storage cubby. Storage
Yeah,
cubby.
yes, it's a cubby. Yeah,
Like a
cubby.
fabric storage cup. You know what I tried to find? An 80s, like nostalgic, cool looking waste paper basket. Go find one like that I thought was good or was sizable enough because I let it kind of build for a few weeks.
It's a nice
Change
collection.
it over,
Yeah.
but-
So I'll tell you what I imagine it is.
Yeah.
So when I worked in television, we had these tall, probably like 4 foot tall cardboard boxes into which you would put a trash bag and you throw all your scripts in there because that was then picked up by the shredding company.
Right. I've seen those.
Right. And so I picture because they're scripts, I guess, I picture you have one of those from my old newsroom 30 years ago. And that's where you're working. But
that would be smart. I'll show you what it is. It's just one of these.
I just sent a picture. I just sent it.
1 foot by 1 foot cubbies.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, it's like, it goes inside of a Bjorkenstein from IKEA.
Yeah, I had an extra one. It wasn't originally a waste paper basket, but I put it there because I was planning on folding it up and storing it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then one show I threw stuff into it, and I was like, oh.
One piece of paper went into it, and that was the end.
Honestly, before that, I put that thing there just as a temporary spot. I was throwing them on the floor. And then at the end of the show, I would clean them up and throw them in the
So really, the
garbage.
cube got in the way of your clutter, is what happened. And it inadvertently made it more organized.
Now I put them in the cube, and before I throw them into the recycling, I dump the whole thing on the floor, like it's the old days, and then I gather them up again.
That seems like a waste of energy, but okay.
Yeah.
Marcus is saying a milk crate would work for that.
I'm saying he's thinking vintage. Yeah, like you'd have records. Yeah, that's a good idea, Marcus. Yeah.
I would have said use a Jaffa block. Did you guys have Jaffa blocks in the
what
80s?
is that?
It's a glorified milk crate structure, like plastic pieces that went together for stacking and organizing. Oh, I love those.
You can't listen to Marcus. He thinks a milk crate is good as luggage too. So he really is the wrong person to ask.
He's from the South. Well, he's not
Clearly.
from the South. He lives in the
Clearly.
South. My milk crates that I had as a kid were from stores that were getting rid of them, throwing them out or whatever.
Yep.
None of them matched. They were all different brands and
that's cooler.
the same
thing with our 5-gallon buckets. Like now people have these like Home Depot branded orange 5-gallon buckets. Ours were all, they're still got tar on it, right? Every 5-gallon bucket we had as a kid is stained with something because it was actually used as something else first. But now you can, this is like a high-end 5-gallon bucket that you can pick up.
It never occurred to me that's what they're made to look like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they previously stored something and had the lid on it.
But exactly. Yeah. Yep.
I have one of those orange ones that I use. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're so upscale.
It was
fancy buckets.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe I could use an old tar bucket from the 80s. Yeah. And throw my garbage in there. Guys, there's some kind of fumes in here. I bought this thing on eBay.
You might have a better time on the show. You don't know. Whee!
He'll turn into the Toxic Avenger in the middle of recording. Great.
Yeah, milk crates are perfect seats for fishing from the bank of the lake. Yeah, and then you flip it over and you
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, and put fish in it.
And you put your fish in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your general fish shift goes in the bucket.
Yeah.
Or your mish fish.
Mish fish.
Kat accidentally said fish jiff on that episode. And then I was like, Kat is so effing brilliant. Like that is so wonderful. And then she tried to say the other way, like, because then John like reinforced it, like fish jiff. Yeah, that's
mish
great.
Fish.
And then she tried to say it the other way.
Mish fish.
Mish fish. Which was not an improvement.
No, it just sounded like she was sniffing tar out of a bucket. Fish.
Or like one of those names from those shows. Yeah. He-Man character.
I listened back and I realized I was not able to do the correct quid pro quo joke that we did. Whatever that was.
Funny. I
quid
noticed
pro
that too.
quo. I couldn't get it right.
We had it in the wrong order or
right.
something.
Quid quo probe or probe pro.
Quid pro quo. Quid quo probe. We were saying it, not.
Yeah, John said quid quo probe. And you said quid pro quo.
Which is right. Your cat was right. Yeah.
Now, and Kat's right. And so hers is really, really so spot on and brilliant, but it's harder to say, I think.
It is harder. Quid pro quo. Yeah, that's why I couldn't do it. I couldn't get my head around it.
And that's why it became probe because you had quid pro probe.
just
make it all probes. Off much easier. Quid pro probe.
It did.
Right. It's like an alien abductee Swedish chef.
Oh,
probe.
I was listening to those clips from the 2024 best of kind of things.
Oh my gosh.
Damn it, John had another t-shirt one in there. I was driving when I was listening though. I was like, I had to write this down. I might have to listen to the whole show again to find it. It was so good.
You both
I know what it is. It's a t-shirt. It's a pocket full of caterpillars. And a stick of fear.
What?
A pocket no. It was from the it wasn't that. It was I was looking for something and I wound up listening to part of the bank heist that leads to the greatest porno, most successful porno ever made.
Right.
We talked about how the guy disguised himself with mustaches, and I said maybe he puts 2 Hitlers on either side to look normal and one for soul patch. And you said, what has he got? A pocket full of caterpillars and a stick of spear gum? It was just like, right? You just like right out of the top of your head. I was like, oh my God, how is this not on a shirt? Nobody would know.
Nobody
I was listening to that one today. The one that I found the most amusing was someone commented. I forget who it was, but it was after I was talking about the Caligula thing. And it's like, John walks around with this in his head all the time.
Steve. Yeah, somebody named Steve.
I thought that was great. Right. Like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, don't go in there. Yeah.
You said you don't want to go in there. It's a mess. No.
Oh my God.
A pocket full of
caterpillars and a stick of spirit gum. He has both. He's definitely prepared.
Are they still moving? Like they're still wiggling? And they're the big fuzzy ones. Maybe they're the striped ones too. That'd be great.
The woolly bears. The woolly bears.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, that gay porno one was really.
So now he looks like the diabetes guy. He's big, bushy.
Right. Right.
Wilford Brimley. Yeah.
Some of those are venomous. Be careful with those
Oh, I really should go.
I can't feel my lip.
We should let Will go to.
Your mustache is walking away. Wait, I recognize you.
Get back here.
You're the Nazi-loving guy that we fired. That's why he put the mustache on to get rehired after they fired him because of the Nazi paraphernalia.
Brandon's laughing with us.
Yeah.
I can picture it.
I've got a pocket full of caterpillars.
It's like a 1920s tune.
That's what I was trying to relate to Kat because she knows media from the 1920s.
Yeah, right. And I can picture there's probably a dance that went with it too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like this, like a cartoon, Betty Boop.
Yeah, and maybe you're kind of reaching into your pockets.
Right. All the characters just squishing, expanding to the music.
Yeah.
I've got a pocket full of caterpillars.
Where's W.C. Fields? What era was he from? I remember
40s?
watching it ain't a fit night out for man nor beast, and then like the snow would come in.
All right, I gotta go.
On that note,
Do it.
okay.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.